Uh, Good evening, everyone. I think we can start this session now. So over to you, Abhishek, sir.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Parul, ma'am. A very good evening to all of you. Myself, Dr. Abhishek Kumar Singh. I'm going to welcome all of you in this day 12 session of online refresher course in commerce and management. So today, our resource person is also here, Mr. Prakar Vadwa, sir. I welcome you, sir. And today class means day 12 session is based on the topic use of advanced Excel in the teaching. And let me introduce Mr. Prakar Vadwa, our resource person, as a brief introduction. Prakar Vadwa, sir, is an assistant professor with 7 years of experience at Ramanujan College. His philosophy towards the work is to challenge himself continuously. He enjoys doing things that will help either people in the workplace or in the organization at a large. Even in a small way, he has done his he did his graduation from SGTB Khalsa College, University of Delhi, and he did his post graduation and MPhil from Department of Commerce, University of Delhi. He has published many research papers in recognized journals, and currently he is pursuing his PhD from Department of Commerce, University of Delhi. Even being from a non-technical background, he has expertise in all the commonly used software and programming. He has delivered many sessions as a resource person in faculty development program, refresher courses, and other training courses. So I welcome Mr. Prakar Vadwa, sir. So start the session. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. Main to make you a bit more proficient in using Excel in your day-to-day life, in your teaching, in your research, in your academic work, in any kind of work that you're doing. So how you can use Microsoft Excel more proficiently. So what I expect is that you are on your computer right now, and the sheet that has been shared with you, the workbook that has been shared with you, it's there with you right now. So can I can please everyone confirm this, that you are on your system and you're having the sheet? You're able to open the sheet, and the sheet would look like something like this. So I've shared the screen with you. The sheet would look like something like this. Yeah, please. So please confirm. Yeah, I hope I am audible.
Yes, Prakhar, you are.
Okay, so
yes, sir.
Can everyone raise their hands that you have the sheet and you're able to open the sheet and then start with it? Right, so it would make more sense that if you're working, so we will be talking about few things, so not many things, that as we have very limited time, but whatever we are talking about, and if we are doing it simultaneously, so it would make more sense and you'll be able to understand much more, and you'll be able to do it even after this particular session, and on a daily basis on your routine work, you'll be able to apply those things. Right, so assuming that everyone is having the sheet and they're able to operate it, so we'll be starting with the first sheet that is there. So the name of the first sheet that is there is, that is rows and columns. So I hope everyone has used Microsoft Excel one way or the other in their research, in their academic work, and in their normal day-to-day life. So everyone knows that how we use a formula in a particular Excel sheet. So every formula starts with equal to sign, right? So why this equal to sign? Can anyone answer this thing, that why there is this equal to sign? Why do we start with equal to sign? Everyone knows that it starts with equal to sign, but why any formula in Excel starts with equal to sign? Yeah, can anyone answer it? Just type in the answer. So the cell is equal to that value. Okay, somewhat correct. Anyone else? The outcome of the formula would receive in, right? So somewhat near to it. So what we are trying to say is that it's like an equation, right? So equation have left hand side and equation have right hand side. So on the right hand side of the equation, we are trying to calculate some value. So the value that we are trying to calculate on the right hand side, right? So that is given us to in the formula bar. So when we'll see this, so if I write something like this, a very simple formula. So if I just write 2 plus 3, so now just assume it like y is equal to mx plus c. So y is your output and mx plus c is your input. So when I'm writing 2 plus 3 here, that is my input. So when I just press enter, I get the answer here, that is 5. So the answer that we get here is 5. But now in the formula bar, we're able to see the formula that we have written. So we have written 2 plus 3. So that is your right hand side. And on the left hand side, you get your output, and this output is there in this cell. So that is why we are starting every formula in Excel with equal to sign. So the first task that we are going to do is that how many number of rows and columns are there in a spreadsheet. So this is one spreadsheet that we have. So how many number of rows and columns that we have? So we can count them. How we are able to count them? So there are different ways. So let's suppose we are there in this first column, that is A column, and we are starting from the first row. So when we press Control and down key, we go to the last cell in this particular column. So the last cell in this particular column, that is 10,48,576. Right. So I hope everyone is able to get it that the total number of rows that are there is 10,48,576.
Professor, actually, no, the participants have not been given the permission to unmute themselves. So they are writing in the chat box.
Okay.
So if you want, we can allow them.
Sure, sure. So I'll just check the chat box. Just one second. Yeah, so I can see in the chat box now. So 16,384. So can you please tell me how you have calculated? So the number of rows is very easy to calculate. So to know that is 10,48,576 because we are able to see the number here. Now when we come to number of columns, so in the number of columns, the columns are represented by A, B, C, D, and so. So we can see that right now we are at the first column. Now when we are pressing Control and right key, so we are going to the last column here. So we go to the last column, and that is somewhat written as XFD. Now we cannot directly know that what is the number of this particular column. Now there will be different ways of calculating. So right now in this particular sheet, we are able we want to understand that how to use referencing and how to use a kind of simple formula. So what I do is I'm just writing one here. So I'm just writing one here and then copying this one by pressing Control C and then pressing Shift, Control and right key. So now the first particular row has been selected and then pressing Control V. So what we can see is that there are all the first all the cells in the first row are filled with this figure, that is 1. So every cell in the first row has been filled with 1. Right. So I hope everyone is able to do this. Then what we are doing is we are just using a simple formula that is equal to sum, and the bracket starts, and then we are selecting this particular cell, then pressing shift, control, and right key. So what we can see is this referencing that we get is 1:1. 1:1 means that the first row has been selected. The whole of the first row has been selected. So 1:1. And then we are pressing, closing the bracket, and then pressing enter. So the answer that we get is 16,384. Now 16,384 is a total number of columns that we have. Now, why this, from where this number we are getting? So when we are saying equal to, we have another formula that is known as SQRT. SQRT is a very simple formula that is, the name is very explicit, that it means that we are trying to calculate the square root. So selecting this number and we are calculating the square root. So that is 128. Now 128 is a kind of figure that we know. So something which is 2 raised to power 7. So this is 2 raised to power 7. So 2 raised to power 7. So you can remember this by this, that 2 raised to power 7 is the total number of columns that you have in one spreadsheet. Now in the same way, if we want to calculate what is the total number of rows that we have, already we have seen that what are the total number of rows. Again, let's say we are doing the same exercise. Right, so doing the same exercise again. Now each and every cell in the first column has been filled with 1. So when I'm just, so this was a, so now we are saying rows, so equal to sum, and then we are selecting the whole of the first column. So these are the number of rows that we have. So these are the total number of rows that we have. Now again doing the same thing, that is equal to SQRT. So the answer that we get is 1024. Now again 1024 is a very familiar number with us. So that is 2 raised to power 10. So this is 2 raised to power 10. 2 raised to power 10. Right. So now this 2 raised to power 10 is the total number of rows that we have, and 2 raised to power 7 is the total number of columns that we have. So this is how you can remember it easily, that what are the total number of rows and total number of columns. Now we have another formula. Again, you must be familiar with that formula. So this was a very simple function that we use, that was sum. Another formula that we have is count. So we have different versions of count. So we are talking about two versions of count, that is count and count A. So again, using the same thing. So I'm saying equal to count. Then I select the whole first row. So let's say we are again counting the total number of columns. So we select the first row and then close the bracket and hit enter. So the answer that we get is same. So we get the same answer, that is 16,384. Now the same exercise we are doing in count A, and then again selecting the whole this thing and closing the bracket. That is again 16,384. Now there is no difference in the output. In both the cases we get the output as 16,384. Now what is the difference between? So it's a kind of a generic thing we're talking about. So whenever there will be A in any formula, so what does it mean? So let's suppose in this particular cell, that is A1 cell, in A1 cell, instead of 1, I write a number. So I just write A, for suppose. When I just write A, now you can see when there is A, so sum will automatically change, because sum is going to only add if it's not a number, so it will not add. In count, you can see that the number has been reduced. So count is only counting the numbers, right? So numeric numbers are being counted using count function. And any type of function where there is this A, it is going to count the numbers as well as the alphabets. So alphabets is also counted, and the numbers are also counted. So this is the difference between count and count A. So this was a very simple thing, that how we can how do we use a simple formula in this. Now coming to the next sheet. So the next sheet is autofill. So autofill, as the name suggests, autofill, that it will fill the information automatically depending on some pattern. So there is some pattern in your cells that are already filled. Then if you want to fill the other cells using the same pattern, then how we can do this? So that is that what do we mean by autofill? So if there is any doubt in the first part, please let me know. The first rows and column sheet. Any query? So moving to the next part, so autofill. Now what you can see is in this particular sheet, we have different types of information that is there. The first information that we have is there are two numbers written, 10 and 20. So the difference between these two numbers is of 10. So what we are doing is we are just selecting these two numbers, and now when we'll drag it, so when we are dragging it, so what you can see is that the numbers are automatically increased. So the difference between these two numbers was 10. So when we dragged it, so again the same difference is being continued to 30, 40, 50, 60, and so this is a very simple example of autofill. So now whenever you want to do something like this, so normally what we have to do is, let's suppose we have to write serial number. So we just write like this serial number, and then we are writing 1 and 2. Now, instead of writing 3 here and then 4 here, so let's suppose I want to enter till 100, right? So let's suppose till I have to enter till 100. So the first row has been already taken by the label. So I have to go till 100 row. So what I'll do is I'll just go to the 100 row. So at 101, what I put is I put a X figure here is that at 102, because my 100 would be completed at 101. So what I do now is I'm just selecting these two cells, and then I'll go to the bottom, right bottom. Then you can see that how the sign of this plus sign is changing. So right now this plus sign is dark at outside and white in the inside. Now here it is changed. So dark and inside and white and outside. So you can see that now this plus sign is ready for autofill. So when what you have to just do is you just have to double click here. Right. So just expand it till whatever is your last cell. So till last cell, you'll expand it, and this would be written like. So you don't have to write the numbers. Automatically, the numbers would be written. Now in the second cell, what you can see is there is Jan written. So January. So when you're going again here, now this is only one cell that has been filled. So in this particular previous exercise, there were two cells that were filled, and the difference between those two cells is automatically captured, and in the same pattern it is being increased. But here you can see that only January is written. So when you'll just drag this January here, so automatically the months would change. So you can see that the months are automatically changing. Now the question is how automatically the months are changing. So there are few lists that are being incorporated in Excel. So there are predefined lists that are there. You can also have different custom lists. So we'll see how we can add custom lists here. So let's say here it is written product A, product 1. So now when you will drag it, automatically it will keep on changing product 2, product 3, product 4, product, and so on. So sometimes, let's suppose I just need that there should be product 1 only. So in that case, let's suppose still here I want product 1 only. So what I'll do is I'll just copy this and I'll select these cells and then I paste it. Now there will be only product 1. But if I am dragging this thing, so if I'm dragging this thing, so it will show me like this. So product 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So automatically it will keep on increasing. Right now, just see this. Right. So I hope it is clear. Now again, so just see, this is a date. Now this is a date format. So I hope everyone knows that how to format the cells. So this is format cell, and there are different formats that are there. So right now what we have selected is, we have selected date format here. So this is a date format cell that we have. Now when I drag this cell, so it will keep on changing. So it says 14th of January 2019. So when I drag it, so it will become 15th of January, 16, 17, 18, 19, and so. So automatically it will keep on changing. And again, if you don't want it to change, automatically it should not shift to the next date. So you just have to copy and paste if you just want the same date. So this kind of thing is known as autofill. So again, what we'll see is that there are two cells that are filled, and the difference between these two cells is of 7 days. So these two cells is of 7 days. So now what you can see is that when you select these two cells here, then again when you drag it, so there'll be automatically the difference between these cells would be 7 days, 7 days, and 7. So this is how you can automatically do it in a faster way. Then again, it's like time that is written. So when you drag it, automatically it will keep on changing to the next arc. Now the question comes that what, so these are things that are automatically being done. Now, what if you want to have something custom? So if you just want a kind of a custom thing, so for that, what we have to do is you have to go to the Excel option, right? So you'll go to the Excel option. So this is Mac OS. So I'll just tell you how to do that. So you'll just go to the Excel option. Then there is advanced. Click on advanced. Then click on, then just scroll to general, and there you'll find custom list. So in that custom list, you can edit according to your criteria. So whatever criteria or whatever things that you want to use, so you can just add the list according to you. So please let me know if you're able to get it. So here I have this list. So in Windows, where you'll find it, you'll go to the Excel option, then click on options, then advanced, then scroll to general, and then you'll find list. So I have this custom list. So you can see that the list has been prepared. So this is a list January, February. So it's a list. So let's suppose I just want to add a new list. So I just add a new list, for example. So I'm just writing random things. So I've just written like you, the, when, is, right. So I've just written some random things here. So now my list is prepared here. So what I'm doing now is I'm writing you here. Now when I'll drag it, just see. So when I'm dragging it, so till this, my list was there, and then again it will keep on repeating. So in the same way, when I'm adding again, so again it will keep on repeating from this center. So you can add your custom list. So depending on, let's suppose you have to write again and again the same thing, and then you have to write it. So instead of writing it, you can just put it in the custom list, and then you can drag it, and automatically it would be added. So this was the second thing, that is autofill, which will help you in your day-to-day life in doing things better, proficiently. Next one is flash fill. So we're going to the third sheet. Any doubt in the second sheet? So please post a message if there's any doubt. Yeah, please, you can put it, you can type the doubt here only. So in the meantime, we can go to the next sheet. If anyone is having any doubt, so put the doubt in the chat box. So going to the third sheet now, that is flash fill. So flash fill, as the name suggests, it will help us in, again, it is something like autofill, but flash fill is that it will identify a pattern. So we can say that it is a kind of intelligent way to fill the sheet. Now there is a pattern, what you can see in this cell. So in the first column, you can see a pattern. So what is a pattern? There are few numbers, a few letters that are written there, and then there is a slash, and then there are few numbers, and then again there is a slash, and there are few numbers. But the total number of length, the length that we can say. So right now what we can say is here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 alphabets are written, then there is a slash, then 4 letters are written. Now when we'll see in the second one, what we can see is that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 alphabets, and there are 4 numbers. Here what we can see is there are some alphabets here, and the total number of numbers that we have is 5. So there is a pattern, but the pattern is not constant. But the way it is being written, it is constant. Now how we can do flash fill? So flash fill is like that it will identify the pattern, and no matter what is the length, it is going to give you the output accordingly. For example, it's like 4, 6. What I write is 4, 6, 4, 5. So I have written 4, 6, 4, 5. Now 4, 6, 4, 5 is being identified in this, that is there's a slash, and then there is these numbers, and then again there is a slash. So what I'll do is I'll go to data tab. So this is the data tab. Now in the data tab, there's this option of flash fill. I'll just click on this flash fill, and automatically all the numbers which are there inside the slash, they'll be filled here. So I hope you can see. In the same way, let's suppose I am writing. So instead of this, let's say I write WETJR. I just write this thing WETJR. Now again, I'll just click on flash fill. Automatically, it will just select whatever is there before the slash. So this is a very simple thing, but it will save a lot of time. So let's suppose you have thousands of entries. So you have downloaded the data from somewhere, and you just need a kind of first thing. So you can just see that how fast it can do, right? So it can do really very fast. So you just have to write, and it will identify the pattern, and it will work like this. Obviously, there will be some limitations of this, but mostly it will work for you. Now let's suppose there are two things that are written, and you have to create something out of this. So let's suppose I'm just writing the first thing. So let's say that is baker. Then we put a dot, and then we say John. Then let's suppose we say @gmail.com. So I'm just, let's suppose, creating some email IDs, or this is how we want to represent. So we have written it like this. Now, if you have to write for everyone like this, then in that case, what I'll do is I'll just click on flash fill, and automatically this will be filled. So you don't have to write for everyone. So it's like there will be many applications for this. So whenever you want to fill the data with some constant pattern, so if there is a pattern that is being followed in the data, then you can use flash fill, and automatically all the cells will be filled according to that pattern. So just see again what we have done. So it was very simple. What I did was I just use some pattern. So these are the two cells that I'm using for the pattern. So I just write, then I put so this dot is a constant that I have used. Then this is being referred from here. Then again a constant. And then again some constant. So then we are going to just click on flash fill, and automatically everything would be filled. Right, so I hope it is clear. Then again some example. So let's suppose there are few numbers that are written. Now I want to add some constant in this number. So let's suppose we are saying 8. So 270 are the first 3 digits. Then we, let's say, put a dash. Then let's suppose we write 369. Then we write, let's say, 181. So something like this we are writing. So again, we just click the button of flash fill. So it will use the same pattern. So just a simple another application. Then let's suppose we see that there are few things that are written here. A statement is written, and in every statement there are few numbers. So let's suppose I write 130 here, and now you are already familiar with flash fill. So you know when I click on flash fill, what will happen? It will select only the numbers. But now what is the problem here? The problem is 130 is okay, 50 is okay, but 2 is not okay. 2, it should have been 26 point this. Then again, here it is okay, but 2.54 this should be, but this is only 54. Then again, it is also not okay. 3 is not, 3 is missing. So now instead of this, whenever you have a data set like this where the pattern is being disturbed, so all the numbers are not just integer, maybe there are decimal also. So what I'll do is I'll just modify this thing and I'll just write 26.2. Now, as soon as you do this, automatically this and this will be automatically flash filled and it will be automatically correct. So you don't have to do manually anything. You don't even have to click flash fill. Automatically it would be corrected. So again, flash fill is a kind of very good option that is there, that where we can save a lot of time by using flash fill and filling the data automatically. So flash fill icon is already there. You just have to go to data tab, and in the data tab you'll find flash fill. So in the data tab you'll find flash fill. So it's already there. You don't have to do anything to find it. Then any doubt in this flash fill? So if flash fill is not available in the data tab, so you have to check the version of Office that you have. So if it's older version, then it would not be available. But from 2013, it is there. 2016, I guess. So my version is 2019. Check the version. Now the next sheet that we have is text to column. Now text to column is a very kind of thing which is important to us. So text to column would work somewhere like whenever you are copying some information from internet, so some browser, you're copying some information and then you're pasting it on a spreadsheet. So when you're pasting it on the spreadsheet, then what sometimes happens is that maybe there was a table, but then there will be no table when you're pasting it. It will be just pasted in one particular column, right? The information is just pasted in one particular column. But the what we can say, the things that are there in different columns are being separated by some specific marks. Let's suppose a space, a colon, a semicolon, a comma, or anything. So then how we can arrange that so that it is shown to us in different colors. I think someone's mic is on. Right. So now how we can do this? So now what you can see is there is names that are written there, first name, last name, and the names are written in such a manner that the last name, then there is a comma, and then there is first name. So this is how the names are written. Now, what if we need to arrange the information in such a manner that both the things should be separated to each other? So we want, let's say, the first name or the last name in one column and the other name in one column. So for this, what we'll do is, so whatever data set that you're seeing here, it's a kind of a very simplified data set. But when you're actually working, you have a large data set. So in order to understand, the data set has been kept small, but it would apply to a larger data set as well. So let's suppose I'm selecting this, right? So all the cells are selected. Now after selecting these cells, we'll go to the data tab. Now in data tab, we have this option that is text to column. So the text which is there in only one particular cell, if you have to arrange this in different columns, then how you can do this? So first of all, we have selected all the cells. Then we are clicking on text to column. Now after clicking on text to column, it will give you two options. The first one is delimited. The other one is fixed width. Will not say fixed width. Fixed width would apply whenever the number of characters that you want to separate are constant. So let's say there are only 5 characters in each cell. Then it is easy to use fixed width. Otherwise, we are using delimited. Now we are clicking on delimited. Then we click on next. Then what we say is that we have different delimiters. Delimiters are like how one particular word or one particular thing that you want to separate is distinguished from the other one. So how it is separated from the other one. So we can see that there is some letters that are written. So one word is written here, then there's a comma, and there's also a space. And this pattern is being continued. So everywhere you can find this pattern. So mostly when you will be copying anything from internet and pasting it on one spreadsheet, so a pattern would be followed. Now you have to identify that pattern, and after identifying that pattern, you can easily separate it. So now I have identified the pattern, that the pattern is there's a comma and there's a space. So what I have done is I have identified the pattern. So I have said that there's a space. So you can see that how it is being separated, and there's a comma, and this comma is there. So the comma in the space would be, we can say the comma in the space would be delimited. It would be removed. So comma and space, and it can be anything else. So let's say there are only tab, semicolon, and these options are there. We can have different other options. We can put a colon, you can put a question mark, you can put a slash or anything. Now we'll just click on next. Now there are different other kinds of different types of information, whether it's a general, it's a text, it's a date, right? So let's suppose we say that's a text, and then we say finish. Now as soon as you click on finish, what you can see is that the first column is there only with the first word, then comma and space is delimited, it's gone, and on the in the second column we have this thing, that is the second one. So this is how you can separate the cells using text to column. So please confirm if it is clear, or if there is any doubt with this. Right, so moving to the next part. If there is any doubt, you can just post a message in the group. Now the next sheet that we have is index match 1, index match 2. Now I think you must be familiar with these formulas like lookup, VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, and I hope आप लोगों ने use भी करा है, and so you have also used it. But there are serious limitations with VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, or lookup function. So VLOOKUP is for vertical lookup, HLOOKUP is for horizontal lookup, and lookup is like it will work accordingly. So lookup would work something like if whether your table is horizontal table or vertical table. A vertical table is such where the number of rows are more than number of columns. So when the table is something like this, we can say the number of rows are these much and number of columns are these much. So this kind of table, so just see the selected area. So this kind of table will be known as a vertical table. Now, if let's say there are these many columns and these many rows, so this kind of table would be known as horizontal table. So vertical lookup, that is VLOOKUP, horizontal lookup, that is HLOOKUP, would be used accordingly. So you have to identify that what kind of table that you have. Usually we have more number of rows rather than columns, so we end up using VLOOKUP. But there are serious limitations that the unique ID, or we can say the primary key with which you can identify the record. So the data record with which you are identifying your primary key, your unique ID, that should be there in the leftmost column or the row. So topmost row in HLOOKUP and in the leftmost column in the VLOOKUP. So what we are trying to say is that if you're using this, then this should be here. The unique ID should be here if you're using VLOOKUP, and if you're using HLOOKUP, your unique ID should be here. So that is the limitation that we have in VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. Now, in order to just remove this limitation and able to identify the primary key, and no matter where your primary key is there, we'll use a combination of index and match. Now, usually many times it happens that you have few records. So how we can use index and match? So you have a kind of a sheet where you have, let's suppose, a serial number is there, and serial number is like a primary, you can say, with which you can identify the record. Then, or maybe like a roll number, or maybe something like Aadhaar number or PAN number, so which is unique. So let's suppose you have some unique ID, then you want to incorporate some more information in that sheet. So now just see this particular sheet. Here we have some ID. So there is this ID. There are phone numbers. and there is name, right? Name is there. Now we have another sheet. So this is our sheet index match 1. Then we have index match 2. So just click on index match 2. So what you will see is in index match 2, you have names and you have IDs. Now what we can see is in these two sheets, ID is unique thing, right? So ID is unique thing which you can identify the record. For example, I want to see that 89 ID has this phone number, but what is the name of 89 ID? So I'll just go to this sheet and I'm trying to search. I got, as this is a very small data, so I just got that at 89 the name is Arman. Now what I want is that this name should be incorporated in the sheet here. So in this sheet the name should be incorporated. Or what I want is that in this particular sheet the phone numbers are incorporated. So if I write here phone number, so phone numbers are incorporated in this sheet so that either of the sheets become complete. So for this, what I'm doing is I'm using a function that is index and match. So this function is going to help you a lot whenever you want to combine two sheets as per the unique ID. But a unique ID is must. So first of all, we're just using a simple function that is equal to match. So equal to match. Then we start with the bracket. Now, the first thing it will say, the syntax of the formula says what you're trying to search. What is your lookup value? So I'll say that my lookup value is this. So my lookup value is this particular ID. Then we put a comma. Then it says, what is your lookup array? Lookup array means where you're trying to search. So I'm trying to search in another sheet. So I just click on index match 1. And then I say where I'm trying to search. Now this particular 11, the number that I've selected, the ID that I've selected, it can be anywhere. So I'm just saying that it should be in this particular column. So I'm selecting the whole column. So this whole column is selected. I'm trying to search in this particular column. Then we put a comma. Now after putting a comma, what you can see is that there is match type, and match type is there in square bracket. So whenever in a formula in Excel, if it's in square brackets, so if the syntax is there in square brackets, it means that it is optional. So it is not mandatory. If even if you not write it, automatically it will take some default value. But here we want to identify that what kind of match it is. So it should not be like a similar match. If it is 11 and if you're able to find 11 in the first column, then only give us the answer. Otherwise, don't give us the answer. So that is why there is this option of 0. So I put 0 here. So 0 is for exact match, and then I close the bracket and then hit enter. So the answer that we get here is 57. Now, what does this 57 means? So we are saying that 11, when we are using match function with this particular ID, we get the answer as 57. Now, again, when we go to index and match, the first sheet, let's try to find where is this 11. So we say this 11. So you can see that this 11 is at here. So this 11 is at here. So what we can say is, what is 57? 57 is the row number where you are able to find this unique ID. So 11 is there in 57. So if you will not put 0 in match function, it will take default value, and default value would be 1. So default value is always the first thing that you see whenever there is optional input you have to enter. So in optional input, whatever first value that you'll see, that is your default value. So it will take less than. So now what we are able to see is that we get this 57 here using match. So एक बार दोबारा से match function use करके देख लेते हैं. We select, this is our lookup value. Now lookup array is where it is. So we are repeating again. Just see. So we're saying equal to match. The syntax is match. Then the bracket starts. Then we are trying to find this 12. So this 12 we are trying to find. So this is only one value. We are trying to find only one value. Then we put a comma. Now lookup array means what is the range where you're trying to look up this value. So we are trying to look up this value in this sheet. So we're going to this sheet, the first sheet, and then we are saying that it should be there in the first column. So we are selecting the whole first column. So the whole first column is selected by A, and then we put a comma. The match type is by default kya lega? So that is 1, that is less than. But we want to use exact value. Agar hum yahan pe kuch nahi likhte hain, so we don't write anything, then also it will give us the answer. So we just enter. The answer that we get is 2. So let's see whether it is there in the second row or not. So it is there in the second row. Although the answer is same, but always your answer will not be correct. So that is why we'll say that our exact match should be there. So in this, what we'll do is comma, and then we'll put 0. So this is our exact match. Now when you will drag it, so just double click, just go to the left bottom, sorry, right bottom, and then double click here. So all the cells would be filled, and this will give you the row number where your reference is there in the source sheet. So this is our source sheet we're trying to find from here, and this is our output sheet where we are trying to get the output. But we are not just done with the whole thing, because we want phone numbers, we don't want the row numbers. This was the first step that we have done. We are able to identify what is the row number. Now what we need to do is that what is the value of phone number in 57th row. So when we are going to the first sheet and we are going to 57th row, so we're going to the 57th row. Now in 57th row, we are able to identify that 11 is here. But what our objective is, we want this number to be copied from here and to be pasted in our output sheet. So for this, we're just using index function. Now let's see how we are going to use index function. So we say equal to index, then we put a bracket. Now after bracket, you'll find two kinds of syntax. So two kinds of syntax are there. We'll just say that how we are going to use it. So index, and then the bracket starts. Then you'll go to the sheet from where you want the output. We select index and match sheet. Then from where you want the output. So we want output that is there in this particular column. We want that in this particular column, wherever your output is there, it should be copied from here and it should be pasted in your output sheet. So we just select the whole column. So your output can be anywhere in this particular column. Then we put a comma. Then it says, what is your row number? Now for row number, what we'll do is, our row number is this. So this is our row number. And then we just close the bracket and then hit enter. So what we can see is, we get the number here. We get the phone number here. So this phone number is being copied from 57th row. So what we are doing is, we are using two functions in order to derive phone number. Now the same thing directly will do the same thing. That how we can do this. So we are using this. So we are saying equal to index. So equal to index. Then we go to the first source sheet. Then we select the second column, that what do we want as our output. Then we put a comma. Then instead of writing the row number from another cell, we use the match function here itself. So we say equal comma and then match. Then what we are trying to find. So we are trying to find this 11. Then we put a comma where we are trying to find it in the source sheet. Then we select the whole column. Then we put a what kind of match it is, that is 0, exact match. And then we close the bracket. The first bracket is for match function. The second bracket is for index function. So we get the phone number directly. So we'll get the phone number directly here. So you don't have to do two steps, and in one step only you'll get the phone number. And when you'll just double click here, then you'll get it will be filled and all the phone numbers would be visible. So I know it needs a lot of practice and it would be not very clear at first hand, but what our idea here is to introduce with this particular function, so that once you practice it and continuously do it. So your kind of work would be really very easy. So you don't have to control F and then find the unique ID and then copy the phone number. So that was one way. So if you have to go with the long way, so what I'll do is I'll just select 12. I'll go to my source sheet जहाँ पे हमारा output है. So I'll just see where is 12. So I'll not even find 12 at one go. So there, because there are many 12. So let's suppose I got the 12 here at 57. Then I'll copy this information and then I'll paste this information here. So that is one way of doing it. But when you are actually using index and match, then you can automate the sheet, and no matter you have 10,000 records, it will automatically calculate from another sheet. So it will automatically get the output from another sheet. So it will make the task really very easy. It needs practice. It would be not very clear at first go, but I'll share this sheet with you. So you'll be able to see the formulas that are written there, and you can just practice those formulas and you can understand it on a roll. So again, just let me just repeat it once, that what we have done. So we are saying we are using a combination of index and match. So we are saying equal to index. So equal to index, just you can write it down also. First thing you have to select is what you want as your output. So in the index function, the first input would be what you want as your output from this sheet, from another workbook, or from anywhere. So what you want as your output. So I just select index and then the bracket starts. And now I'm saying that I want my output from this sheet. So I just select this sheet, and my output can be there in any of the row here. So in any row, the output can be there. So I'll just select the whole column. So this whole column is selected here, and this whole column is being selected, and in this whole column, the output can be there. But the next thing that I want to do is that from which row my output should be selected. So what I do is I put a comma, then we are using a formula in a formula. So I put a comma here and then I write match function. We know that match function gives us the row number where the unique ID is identified. So we write match and then the bracket starts, match and the bracket starts. Then what is our lookup value? The lookup value is in our output sheet, in our first sheet. So where we want to put the output. So this is our lookup value. We are trying to find this particular cell, where we are trying to find it in this source sheet, and this can be in any of the cell here. So I'm just selecting the whole column. Then we put a comma, and then what kind of match it is? It is exact match. So we put a 0 here, and then one bracket is for match function and another bracket is for index function, and then we hit enter. So we get the output as this, and we'll just double click here at the corner, and it will be filled like this, and all the numbers will be filled. So this is, it may look difficult, but once or twice you'll practice it, it would be very easy, and it will save a lot of time for you whenever you have to get some output from another worksheet, another workbook in your first workbook or worksheet. So this was index and match. I know it would not be very clear, but still just see the formula and you'll be able to understand. Now the next sheet that we have is go to special. So please open the sheet that is go to special. Now here you can find there are few numbers that are written. So few numbers that are written here. Now we normally do copy, paste, and so yeah. So VLOOKUP function is okay, but again VLOOKUP has limitation that your VLOOKUP function. So just see this sheet here. In this sheet, your ID was here. Your ID was here, but in VLOOKUP, what do we need is that your ID should be the leftmost cell, leftmost column. But normally in the data, it might be, it might not be. So you have to create data in that manner in order to use VLOOKUP. But index and match, you don't have to use it. And there are what we can say more errors whenever you use VLOOKUP, because you have to arrange your data, and whenever you copy paste large data, there are chances of having mistakes. So index and lookup, index and match function, combination of this helps us in that manner. So go to special. So again, we are coming to this. So we are saying that we normally select. So we normally select and then copy paste. So selection is really very important. Now, whenever we are selecting, so we can use different criteria for selecting. So let's suppose we are saying these cells are selected. Now what we can see is that there is 683, 683, 683, there is 522, 523, 522, 705, 705, 705. So what we can see is in some of the rows, the numbers are same, and in some of the rows, the number are different. So what we are doing is we are trying to select. Right now, everything is selected. So we can see that all the cells are selected. Now what we are going to do is we are going to home tab, and there we have this option of find and select. So find and select, we'll just click on find and select. There you will find this option of go to special. Or otherwise what you can do is you can just press your FN key and then press F5. So press FN key and press F5. You'll find this option of go to and then click on special. Now you will have different options of selecting whatever you want to select. So the first option that you have is comment. Comment means that only the cells would be selected where someone has given any comment. Constant means a constant number is there, that only that constant of alphabet or number that will be selected. You have this option of whether it's a number, whether it's a text or error or whatever. If there is a formula, then only it will be selected. If it is blank, then only it will be selected, the current region and so. So let's suppose we select row difference. Row difference is that whether there is any difference in the rows or not. So now what I'm doing is I'm selecting this whole thing and then pressing FN and F5, then going to special, then clicking on row difference and then clicking OK. Now what you can see is not each and every number is selected, only the numbers are selected where there is a difference in the row. So you can see here, this is your first reference thing, that if there is 683, 683, 683, it will not be selected. But there was 723, but these are not 723. So that is why they are selected. It was 591, 591, but this was not 591, only this is selected. So this you can use to identify whether there is a difference in the different rows or not. In the same way, let's suppose we just randomly delete a few entries, right? So some entries are deleted. So again, we are selecting this whole thing. Then again, FN, F5, then we go to special. Then let's suppose we select only blank. So we're just selecting blank and we say OK. So only blank are being selected. Let's suppose you have to paste something in these blank cells. So let's suppose I'm writing 2 here and then I'm pressing copy. Right. So this 2 is being copied and then I'm pressing FN, F5 and then special and then blank. So I say OK. Now we can see only blank cells are selected. Now this 2 is already copied. So I just press Control B. So what you can see is every cell, every blank cell that was there, every blank cell has been filled with 2. So let's say you have some kind of data and there are a lot of blanks there. So you don't want to select the filled cells, but you want to select the blank cells. So you can just select the whole range and then go to special and then click on blank cells only and then paste whatever you want to paste. So the shortcut is FN and F5. So you have to just select the data, then press FN and F5. You'll go to special and then you'll find different options. So visible cells only. We'll see how to work with visible cells. So this was just how do we go to special menu and how do we select blank cells, visible cells only. If there is a formula, only formula cell, row difference, column difference. So we can share this. Now the next thing that we have is filter and sorting. So all of you must know, must be using filter and sorting and everything. So let's suppose you have collected some data on income and you have found a income score. So income score for different individuals, So what all things we have? We have some categories that are there, social categories that are there. There is some persons of disability status that is there. Gender information is there. Date of birth information is there, and there's a family's final income score is there. So let's suppose you want to identify to whom you have to give some kind of benefit. Now, if there was only one variable, the variable was income, final income score. So now how do we do this? So firstly, what we are doing is we are going to data tab. Now we have these two options of filter and sorting. So let's suppose we start with filter. So I'll just click on this filter. So when I click on this filter, all of you have already used filters, so you know how do we work with filters. So this filter option is there. Now let's suppose I want only people from EWS category. So I just select EWS. Now only people are there from EWS category that are being shown. So when we have talked about go to special, and there was something known as visible cells only. So now there are few cells which are hidden and only few cells are visible. So if I just want to select the visible cells, I use that function. So go to special and then only visible cells. But now let's suppose we have selected the category as EWS. Now only EWS people are being shown to us. So only EWS people are shown to us. Now if I want to copy it and paste it somewhere, I can paste it. But what you can see is that there are rows that are missing. So 1, then 36, then 51, then 56, 97, and so. So there are a lot of gaps. There are hidden rows. So now what I have to do is, let's suppose I want to copy this information and paste it in some other sheet. So normally when I press Control C, it should do the work. So what you can see is when I have pressed just Control C. So but what we can see is there are a lot of dotted lines. So now these dotted line means that only these particular cells are filled, not other cells. But in order to make sure, so what we'll do is we'll press Fn, then we'll press F5, Fn and F5, that is go to special, and then I'll select only visible cells. Now what you can see is the how it has been shown to us, it has changed, and you can see that there are gaps and only those particular cells are, only those particular rows are selected which are visible. So only those rows are selected which are visible. So this is how you can use visible only. Then different types of filters are there that are already clear. But our task is something else here. So what we want to do is, we have removed the filter now. So what we want to do is, we want to rank according to their final income score, and then we also have to break the ranks. So by breaking the rank means that let's suppose there are two people, they have same final income score. So they'll get same rank, but we don't have to give them same rank. Let's suppose we have to give rank according to their date of birth. So let's suppose there is a tiebreaker that would be used, and the first breaker is that who has highest, or we can say lowest final income score. So we'll give benefit to that person. Then the person who is elder should get the benefit. So if two people are having same score, same final income score, then the person who is having higher age will get the benefit. So we'll get higher rank. So for this, what we'll do is, now filter is like only the information which is meeting your criteria will be shown. So as we have selected only EWS, so only people with EWS social category would be shown. But let's suppose we want to show everything on our sheet, but we just want the arrangement. So for that, we'll use sorting. So what we'll do is, we are selecting the whole data. So the whole data is selected like this. So there are 1000 entries there. So all the entries are selected. Now after selecting all the entries, we are going to this sort. So click on sort. So when you click on sort, you'll get a dialog box like this. There'll be this add button. You'll see that in Windows, it would be a little bit different, but it will be typically same. So you'll just click on this add button. Now this is your first level of sorting. Now first level of sorting, these are your different headers that are there. So there's this option of whether your list has header or not. So if you select no header, it will say column 1, 2, 3, and so. But if you select header, it will give you whatever is your first label is there. So let's say I just select my first label, that is income. So how you want to arrange your final income? I say from smallest to largest. So a person with lowest income will be shown first, and then the person with highest income score. Then I want to add another level of sorting, that of date of birth. So date of birth, then I say that the person who is, so A to Z or Z to A. So I'll say Z to A. So then okay. So now the sorting has been done. So if a person is having similar score, then the score would be break on the basis of their age, right? So on the basis of their age, the score has been break. Now let's say this is our option of overall rank. So let's suppose you want to select a few people, those who will be given some benefit, or let's say of a government scheme. So depending on their income score. Now what I'll do is I'll just press 1 here and I'll just enter 2 here. So there are different formulas also in order to use ranks, but instead of using a rank function, manually we are assigning ranks. So what we do is I just write 1 and 2, and now I know that this particular thing is being arranged in ascending order, right? So small is first, and then the larger income scores are there. So I say this is first rank, this is second rank, and now I'll just double click because we already know how autofill works. So there is a difference of 1, and then I'll automatically click it, and I'll say that I got 1000 ranks like this, and the ranks are already break. So you can have 1 level of sorting, 2 level of sorting, 3 level of sorting. Let's suppose, what if the final income score is also same? Then date of birth is also same. It means the age is also same. And then the third criteria. Let's suppose the third criteria is we have to give benefit to females first and then males. So then there'll be 3 rank that would be break, and you'll never have same ranks. Then let's suppose this is your overall rank that you have given. Now in the next place, what you have to do is you have to also give, let's say OBC rank is what, EWS rank is what, SC rank, ST rank, PWD rank. So for every social category, you have to give ranks. Now for this, what you have to do is I'll again select the whole data. So the whole range has been selected. We're again going to sorting. Now we'll just remove these 2 sortings, right? So these 2 sortings are removed. I'm clicking on add. Now this will be added according to, let's say, category. Let's suppose category from A to Z. This is being shown to us. Then we add another level of sorting. In every social category, the sorting will be same, final income score, and then date of birth. So these are our 2 things, and then from Z to A, in descending order. So date of birth is in descending order, but final income score is in ascending order. So I'll click OK. So what we can see is that we get EWS. So all the EWS people are shown here, and we have EWS people from 1 to 32. So I'll just go to EWS rank. So this EWS rank is already break. So I'll say 1 and I'll say 2, and I have to go till 30. So I'll just put 1 X here so that I don't move further. So I'll just select these 2. And then just double click, and wherever is my X, it is going to stop there. So my ranks are decided for EWS category. Now in the same way, I'll go to second one is OBC. So I'll go to my OBC rank. So this is my first rank, and this is the second rank, and I'll check till where we have the last OBC person. So here, so till here I want OBC rank. So I'll press Control and then up key. So I'll just select these 2 autofill thing that will use, and automatically my ranks would be created. So let's suppose if you can do the same exercise again. Now let's suppose I want to select a few people. So let's say I just want 5 people from EWS rank. So I'll say 5 people from EWS rank. So I'll just select the top 5. So these top 5 people would be selected for any benefit that, or maybe for a sample, or maybe any study, whatever you're doing. So if you have to select a selective sample there. So this is how you can just rank according to different tiebreakers and then select as per your need. So in the same way, you can just sort according to then SC, then ST, and then PWD, and depending on that. So this is how you can use filter and sorting. So all of you must be knowing how to use filter and sorting, but different applications of filter and sorting are must. These are kind of very simple. You don't have to use any formula. Just you have to know how you have to break the ranks. Then now next we have is conditional formatting. Now conditional formatting means that that is there in the home tab. So it is like a kind of formatting that is there. So kind of formatting that is there, and the formatting should be there should be some condition attached to the formatting. Now what you can see is in this there are two lists. There are two lists that are there. So in these two lists there are few names. So you can see different names here. Then again few names are there. So let's suppose we have this Miami Dolphins. So this name is available, whether this is available in this sheet or not. That is what we want to find. So whether there is any duplicacy or not, whether what are the names in this particular list. Now this is just a very simple list that is there, or we can say a very small list. It can be of 1,000, 10,000 things. So this list, we have to identify that what are the unique and what are the duplicate things we have. So what we have here, so let's say the second entry that we can see Cincinnati, that is there in this, right? So this is there in this. So we have to identify what are the things that are common and what are the things that are not common in these two lists. So for this, we can use conditional formatting. So although conditional formatting can be used for finding duplicates and everything. So, but whenever we are comparing two lists, how we can do this? So for this, we'll use a function here that is COUNTIF. Count function we have already seen how does count function work, but COUNTIF, right? So COUNTIF, then the bracket starts. It says where you want to count. So let's suppose I want to count here. So this is my range. And what I want to count is, let's say I want to count this. And then we close the bracket. So my answer is 1. Right? What we are saying is we are trying to count this in this particular sheet. So this particular thing that is written here, whether it is available in this sheet or not. So we can see that this is there in this sheet here. Let's suppose I just copy this and then paste it here. So the number changed to 2 because this thing, what is being written in cell B1 is can be found in this list, can be found in this list twice. So here it is there and here it is. So again, let's just changing it. Now this is how count function works. Count function, the syntax is something like this: count if, then what is your range? Range is where you are trying to find. So where you're trying to find something, and then criteria is what you're trying to find, what criteria that should be filled. Now this is what we are using in conditional formatting when we are comparing two lists. So what we'll do is, as we go to conditional formatting, there are various other kinds of conditional formatting also, but those conditional formatting you can see. But what we are trying to do is that how you can use a formula in finding conditional formatting. So we go to this option that is new rule. Then the Windows version would be a little bit different, but you'll find it here. So you'll go to classic. Then I use a formula, right, to format the cell. So use a formula. Now this is a formula bar that has been given where we'll write the formula. So we'll say equal to count if, the formula that we have seen. So equal to count if. Now what is the range where we want to count? So let's suppose we want to count here. So this is the range where we want to count. So I hope that you're clear with that. Wherever there are these dollar signs, wherever there are dollar signs, it is fixed reference. So assuming that you know that, then we put a comma. Then it says what is your criteria? My criteria is this cell. So this is my criteria. So this is my criteria, and then we close the bracket. Now what I want to find is that whether it is unique or not. If it is unique, then only highlight, otherwise don't highlight it. So I say that the answer of this thing should be equal to 0. So if the answer of this thing is equal to 0, it means we are not able to find this particular thing in this range, because what we have selected is, we have selected the range, then B1 is our criteria, and then we say okay. So the formatting is done, conditional formatting is done. So now we'll see how we can manage this rule, how we can see or edit this rule. So we are again going to conditional formatting, and then we have this option of manage rule. So manage rule. Now where our rule is there, it's in current selection, it's in this, that is this worksheet. So in this worksheet, we have this rule here. Now, first of all, we'll say where this rule will be applied. So that is applies to. So we want to apply this rule, this whole rule. So we want to apply this rule to these cells. So all these cells, the rule should be applied. So this is done. Then we are saying okay. But what we can see is that none of the cells are being highlighted, because we have done a error. There is one error here. So we'll just identify that error and we'll try not to repeat it. So we'll just go to manage rules again. This is the rule that was there. We'll say edit rule. Now what we have done is just see, this was the range. Range will always be fixed. But when we want to apply the rule, so we all know relative referencing. So whenever we drag it, so the referencing should keep on changing. So that is why we'll remove this dollar sign. So we'll just remove the dollar signs and we'll say okay. And this applies to from here till here. And then we click on okay. So now what we can see is the cells which are highlighted. So the cells which are highlighted, these are the cells which are unique, where the count is 0. So you cannot find this particular thing in any of the cell in your first list. In the same way for these. Now let's suppose we want to identify what are the duplicates. So I just go to manage rules and I say edit rule. Now instead of 0, so it was written instead of 0, I say let's say instead of 1. So let's say okay. And then okay. So now everything is being highlighted because it is repeated once. So let's suppose I just change the data set. I just say here. So now just see, this is there in this list, but it is not being highlighted because it is not equal to 1. So if I just go to manage rule and I edit this rule, and instead of 1, I just write 2. So anything which is there in the first list twice, then only it will be highlighted. So okay. Now you can see only this is highlighted because this is repeated twice. So let's suppose we just change it again. So again it is like 1. So this is how you can do any formula. So this is just a kind of an introduction, because you have to practice it on your own, then only you'll be able to understand it better. So count A and count if are not same. Count A is normal textual function, but count if is a conditional function. In count if you are using any criteria, and according to that criteria it is going to count. So here what we have here criteria that we have used it, that in this particular list, whether a particular cell is repeated or not. Then in count A, you are just able to count the cells which are filled either with numbers or either with characters. Right. So this was our conditional formatting. Then next we're going to charts. So all of you must have worked with charts, and you know how to make charts and what are the different kinds of charts that you have. So we'll just be discussing something which might be very useful for you whenever you are using a data set where the numbers are really very low, and in some columns the numbers are really very large. So first of all, we are just seeing a very simple chart. So this is the data range that is given to you. Now when you're going to insert, and you have different charts that are there. So let's suppose we're just working with a simple chart, that is column chart. So 2D column chart. So you have inserted a 2D column chart, and this chart has been added here. Right. So this was a very simple chart, and how to insert the chart and how to do different things. So there are two tabs here, that is chart design and format. Right. So format is more like how the chart is looking like. Chart design is what is your data, how you want to select the data, what is your chart type, and so on. Now there's this option of select data. So when you just click on select data, the first thing it says, what is your chart data range? Then there are different your legends that are there. So legends are the bars. So for every legend, you have a bar. Then the horizontal axis title that is given in A5 to, this is your horizontal axis title. Then Y value is what are the values that will be represented in the chart, and this would be for the legend, the name of the legend. The name of the legend is less than 30, 30 to 49, and plus 50. So I hope this was already clear to you that how do we add a chart, and what do we mean by a legend, or what do we mean by a series. But now we are coming to a different kind of chart here. So please come to this, that is chart secondary axis. Now this would be a very different kind of data where you can see that, let's suppose the growth rate is written, and for different years the growth rate is written. But for industry, you can see the growth rate is in 40s, 30s, but in federal the growth rate is in 50s, 60s. So somewhat nearby. So not much digressing. So there's not huge difference. But in others, you can see the difference is much. So let's suppose you're working with a column chart. Then what you can see is that in column chart, some columns, the bars would be really very high, but in some, the bars would be really very low. In others, the bar would be very, very, very low. So what I'm doing is I've selected the whole data. So the whole data is selected. Then I'm going to insert. Then there is this column chart. I'm just adding this 2D column chart. So this 2D column chart is selected. Now what you can see is the data is being shown, but the problem is that these two columns are really very high, but this column is very low. So what to do with this kind of problem? So for this, I am just selecting this data. So this particular series is selected. So you can see. So when I'm selecting this one, so I have selected industry. When I'm selecting this one, I've selected federal. When I'm selecting the little one, I've selected others. Now you can change it also. You just have to press control and then up and down key. Press control and up and down key. So right now it is other. I'm pressing control and up and down key. So down key federal, then down key industry. So I can skip to another legend like this. Now what I want to do is I'm just double clicking, or I'm just right clicking on this series. So a particular series is selected and just right click on that series, go to the option that is format data series. So when you click on format data series, a dialog box like this will open here. So this box will open here. Now, right now it is our primary axis. So this is our primary vertical axis. This is a primary vertical axis where the values are counted. Now in this primary axis, we have this another option of secondary axis. So we just click on secondary axis. So as soon as we click on secondary axis, what we can see is there is some kind of overlapping that has been done. So you can see in your chart, there is overlapping that has been done. Blue is representing industry. This orange one is representing federal, and this other is represented by this series. But the problem is that there is this overlapping. This would be not a very presentable chart in your analysis. So what you have to do is you have to make the chart like this, so there should not be any overlap. So what you are doing is you're selecting this. So this series is selected. So this others is selected. Then you are going to the secondary series. There is this option of series overlap. So when you just drag it like this, you can see there is not much difference, right? So there is not much difference that has been there. So the chart is okay, but there is a kind of overlapping that has been done in the bars. So this is not a very representable chart that you have created. So whenever you are adding secondary axis, you have to make sure that the columns are separated. So what we'll do is we'll just delete this chart. We're just selecting this and we are deleting this chart here. So after deleting this chart, what we'll do is we are going to add some pads in this, or we can say we are trying to add some series which are blank, which contains nothing. So what I'll do is I have selected this other. I'm adding some, we can say question. So let's say 4 cells I'm adding. So I just name it as pad 1. So now we already know that we have. So I'll just click it like this, automatically will say pad 3, pad 4. So this is like autofill that we know. Now we are not writing anything on this, right? So we're not writing anything. Now what we do is we select the data, we select the whole data. Again, we go to insert, then we go to 2D column chart. So again, a column chart has been added, right? So a column chart has been added. But again, the problem is there. The problem is of this. This is very small. Although this is like a dummies, pad 1, pad 2, pad 3, pad 4 are dummies. So that is not an issue. But others, which is very small, which need to be represented in a primary axis. So for that, what we are going to do. So again, what we do is we select this particular, right? So we have selected this and we are right clicking and then clicking on format data series. So format data series. Just see the chart right now. The chart is your vertical axis is here, right? So your vertical axis is here. And this in vertical axis, it is going from 0 to 80%. But now we'll have a secondary axis here. So we'll just select this series and we'll go to the series option and we'll click on secondary. So as soon as you click on secondary series, this option will be there. Now what we do is, this is your secondary series, that is all right. Now we'll just press Control and down key. So just see right now other is selected. We'll just press Control and down key. Now pad 4 is selected. Now what we'll do is pad 4 right now is the primary axis. We'll change it to secondary axis. So as soon as you change it to secondary axis, what will happen is your bars are getting, there's some space that is created. Then again, let's say we are going to pad 3. Again, let's say we do it to secondary. Then again, there is some difference. So maybe we need pad 1 or pad 2 or not, depending on your data. So just for the contingency, we added 4, but depending on your data, it might get sorted out in 1 pad, it might get sorted out at 2 or 3. So depending on, it's totally dependent on that data. Now this thing is not overlapping and you can present it in your analysis. Now there is this, in this legends, there is pad 1, pad 2, pad 3, pad 4. You can just select it and you can just delete it. So you can just delete the extra and then you can just copy paste the chart in a Word file or anywhere. So this is how you can add a column chart. Yeah, so I hope this part is clear. So I'll just discuss one more thing, that is frequency distribution. That how we can have a frequency distribution. So please open the sheet that is frequency. Right. So in this frequency, what you can say is that there are few number of students that are there, and there is a bin that we have created, bin, or we can say class interval we have created 0 to 20, 21 to this, and then this. And here we are writing the upper limit. Upper limit here is 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, and 40 and above. So we are trying to have a frequency distribution, and we can create a chart out of frequency distribution. So for this, what we'll do is we are just highlighting this portion. We just give a border to this. Now what we can see is that we want to add frequencies here. We want to add frequencies here, and this is our data. So our data is here, and we want to add frequencies here. So what we'll do is we have a very simple function that is frequency. So what we'll do is we'll select all the cells. Now something is known as array formulas. Array formulas is that whenever we are working with arrays and we want to fill the arrays at one go. So when we are selecting these cells at once, so this is an array that we have selected. So what we'll say is equal to frequency. We'll select the formula equal to frequency. Now it will say what is your data array. Our data array is this. So it's a very representative thing. So it's a very small data set. So you can have thousands of entries, 10,000s of entries. So we've selected our data set. Then we put a comma and then it says bin array. Bin array is that what is the upper limit of the class interval. So this is our upper limit of the class interval. So you just have to select only till 40. As you can see, we have selected in our array the last one also. But here we are just selecting till here because automatically the last one would be above and this. Now we'll press not just enter. So we'll just close the bracket and will not press enter. We'll press Control Shift Enter. So we'll press Control Shift Enter. So when you'll press Control Shift Enter, you'll get this frequency. So let's suppose I enter something. So something between 31 to 35, it is 2. So let's say I change it to 32. Then automatically this thing is going to change. Now with the help of this, you can create your chart, right? So how we are going to create the chart? Let's just see. So we are selecting the data here. Then we are going to insert a chart. Let's say a column chart. A chart has been inserted. So there is a problem here because this is also shown to you. This thing is also shown to you, but we don't want this. So we'll just go to select data and blank series will be deleted. And then, so you can just see your frequencies are shown in your this. So this thing, something is known as a histogram kind of thing. There are many other ways of creating histogram. So this is one of the way where you can use just frequency function. So this is the best or very simple way of creating a histogram or for frequency distribution chart. So any question till now? Yeah, any question till now? Yeah, anyone? Yeah, anyone, any question? So I'll be sharing this sheet with you so that you can see the formula. So although I had many other things also planned, but given the response, not very sure whether we should proceed. So yeah, Parul, should we take another topic? So do we have time?
No, sir, we had the session till 5:30, but if you're okay, we can take up some questions.
Yeah, sure.
If you are okay with it.
Yeah, sure.
Abhishek sir, can you just take up the
Okay,
question?
thank you so much, Prakash sir. Very informative session. And some of the questions are there. The first one is, sir, can you please explain sparkline chart?
Yes,
That's
sure.
the first question. So please, sir.
Okay.
Participant, if you have any other questions, please drop in chat box.
I hope you can see the screen. So let's see. I'm just writing a few random numbers here. Right. So I've written some random numbers here. And so we already know, we have seen autofill, how autofill works. So I've just selected these two cells. So I'm just dragging it down. Right. So automatically, randomly, depending on what was the difference, so the numbers would be filled in. Now I have selected this. So I'm just going to insert. So there is sparkline. So there are three kinds of sparkline that you can see. There's a line. So a line chart, a column, or a win or loss. So let's say we are just selecting line. So now the output cell where you want the output. So our output cell is this cell. Then what is your input cell? Our input cell is this. This is our input cell. And this is OK. So what you can see is a line chart has been inserted in a cell only. So you can see it is 12, then it is increasing to 18, then it is decreasing to 11, and then it is continuously decreasing. And we have just pasted it like this. So you can see the chart is like this. So a same pattern has been observed because we are using the same number. So if let's say we just change the number like this, then automatically this sparkline change. So we have another kind of sparkline chart, that is column. So here we'll use the column thing. So the method is same. So you can see as the number is increasing, the size of the column is larger, and then it keeps on getting decreased. So depending on your data. Then we have win or loss. So if it is a positive figure, then it would be similar. But if it is negative, then there will be a difference. So because everything is positive, it will be same. But let's say यहाँ पे you can see it is negative, it will be red. It was 0, so that is why it's nothing. So this is our sparkling chart.
Okay, so as all our participants, they are though accepting that it requires a huge practice. It's not possible in one session. So one more participant says, sir, please share the sheet with the formula. So that's a request from participant. And this much, and most of them are thanking. So overall, the sir, very fruitful session was there. I thank you from my side. Okay, so I request Dr. Aarti for vote of thanks. Dr. Aarti. Ma'am, she's there or not?
Yes, she's there, but I think she's facing a technical issue. So I'd take an opportunity on behalf of her to thank Mr. Prakhar Badwa. It has been very insightful session, and we could read out from the comments that it has been very informative. But because the time period is very, short, so it is difficult for them to grasp all the new ideas. But I'm sure that they can, they've got the basic idea that Excel can be explored and it can be played with, and there is number of things rather than simple formulas which can be used day to day in our day-to-day teaching as well as academic work. So thank you once again for finding time for us and delivering this lecture.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Sanjit, can you please stop the recording?
हाँ जी मैम.